Tonight, viewers share their thoughts on their least favorite Christian movies, and Dan and Zod discuss that thing about Jesus appearing in a dream to Muslims in Gaza. This is a very dreamy Zadanza.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Our
going on?
Put out like a note or two early, but hey, where is Dan?
Nobody knows. I'm outside of the realm of existence.
You know, we can't see your head.
No, you can't. Nuh-uh. I'm just gonna come back up here. You
got to rise to the occasion and do another
show. God, I love having a motorized desk. This is the best purchase I ever made for myself, hands down.
That, along with your level of maturity, is just a perfect combination.
It's great. Listen, you haven't lived till you had it, all right? Just get one for yourself, and then you'll see. Come talk to me, all right?
You know, I have a rising desk. It just, my camera's not on it, so I'm just out of luck. Sorry.
Out of luck. Should have got it. What's happening, peeps? What's going on, Zod? How you doing?
Today we have an actual show. We are doing stuff. We have an action-packed hour of talking about Christian movies that people did not like. Mm-hmm. We have a few that people shared thoughts about. I'm sure you're just totally brushed up on them. You have them all ready to rattle off the top of your head.
Yes.
And we're also going to talk about that story they pass around where Christians like to talk about how Muslims saw Jesus in a dream and became Christians, and that's a miracle.
Yes. Dreams are my favorite kinds of miracles because anybody can have them. So it makes them sort of universal in a way. It's very good.
Yeah. And Jason Sherwood, this is why we can't have nice things.
Mm-hmm. He's talking about me specifically. He knows that my behavior is why we can't have nice things. So I don't know what to tell you, Jason. Folks at home, I am who I am. I refuse to apologize. Okay. But you know what? Zai got real serious there. Did you notice how he flipped the switch? He was like, all right, it's showtime and we're rolling. So Zod, I'm riding with you. Let's do it. What do you want to tackle first? What's up?
We had someone ask if we're going to just talk about random things all for an hour again.
Yeah.
Or if we're actually gonna deal with a video or a movie or something. And so if you're here, we're going to actually do stuff. I think I responded to your comment too, but yes, we're going to actually talk about your guys' Christian movies. Mm-hmm. So it will be us just talking about stuff, but it won't be random. And we'll also talk about this whole thing. We have a video where someone explained it for about 5 minutes. Didn't pad it out at all. I watched several of these and they all pretty much say the same things. And I think there's like almost a standard script they're reading from. So it will be a good time. Mm-hmm. Speaking of not being able to have nice things, let me just see if I can show you something here.
Yeah. Show me what you got.
Shut off my chroma key.
Look at that.
I got a wrinkled sheet behind me because my blue screen petered out on me this week. And I had to like roll some carts behind me and stick a sheet over it. And so between the end of work and right now, I was furiously trying to set that up.
But it looks fine. It looks really good. Honestly, my sheet is wrinkled all the time. Actually, it's not great. Actually, hold on. Maybe I can actually show you if I turn this off. See, look at, actually, hang on. Now I got to turn my other chroma key off because it's a whole thing. But like maybe you're a professional and you have standards. But that's the beauty of being me is that I don't. So it doesn't really bother me too much. Hold on, let's see. We almost got this.
This doesn't hurt anything. Like boom, it looks fine. Nice.
That's terrible. Look, I don't even have the full screen on, Sod. What do you mean? It's bad.
That's what mine used to be like, but now I have a bunch of big empty room behind me. If you saw my last video on my main channel, you see that all the empty space behind me because my desk is like up against a wall. Mm-hmm. And so that's why not, but I had to roll some like shelves over here, some carts, and drape the thing over it.
My
So
spacey.
it looks nice to you, but my wife, if she were down here, would tell me, no, we can't have nice things because you're always making messes.
Yeah, here's my little secret, because like my camera can't like get the full picture because just the way it's put up in the room. Look, I chroma key this out, and then it's
Yeah.
like mostly darkness. So then when I go to NVIDIA, I apply a second chroma key, and it picks up the side of the edge, and it doesn't even matter. It just doesn't even matter. That's the beauty of working with today's technology. If I worked for Jurassic Park people, I would be fired, because I would just cut corners, and that movie would not look as good as it does.
Your setup's fancier than mine is. You got the 2 layers of chroma key, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's all good. By the way, one thing we did technically that made us look really sharp.
What's that?
Is you sat there and adjusted until our heads were at the same level.
Oh, yeah.
And then you sat there and fucked around, and we got all
and then I fucked around. But that's okay. I'm trying to teach Zod. Here's my contribution to this show, folks. I'm trying to teach Zod the beauty of living in the moment. Okay, I'm basically the Zen Buddhist to Zod's Christian sort of traditionalism here. I'm trying to show him, hey, look, man, in the world of live streams, you can get away with anything. Okay, let me tell you about Zod. He loves to write everything out. He's a planner. That's not me. And I'm the chemical X to his sugar and spice and everything nice. And together we make the Powerpuff Girls. That is Zadanza. So that's the secret right there.
I've learned from you, and I am living in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that at this moment, we're not talking about Christian movies.
No, we're not. We should probably talk about Christian movies.
Yeah. So, Dan, what's the first one that you got a comment about from somebody?
Oh, shit. Well, that's a great question to ask me, Zod. I saw people talking about a bunch of different ones. What was your favorite one? Because I would love to know.
You sound a lot like a kid who didn't do his book report.
That's not true. I just don't have everything. I was kind of fucking around with the green screen stuff, and I got distracted. So would love to hear your takes first.
Okay, let me bring one up that I saw multiple comments for, and I find this one kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It was the I'm spacing on the name now. The You've Been Left Behind one, A Thief in the Night, all those movies. I don't know about the rest of you, but those movies can very easily start to haunt my dreams if they get into my head. And
yeah, I didn't watch any of the Left Behind movies, but I read the books as a kid when I was in elementary school. I read
no, not Left Behind.
No, not
Thief
Left Behind.
in the Night. Thief in the Night.
I didn't see.
You know what those are?
No, wait, I didn't see that.
You don't even know what they are.
No.
Okay.
What is that? Tell me.
It was like made in the 70s. You've never heard of Thief in the Night?
No. Wait, yeah, you've talked about it on your channel before, right? Thief in the Night. Somebody's talked about it. I've heard that. Sounds familiar. Maybe the gods, not Gods Not Dead boys, the god awful movie guys. Maybe they've talked about it, and I've heard about it through them. Is it about like an actual criminal who's a thief? That'd be cool.
Oh, damn.
What's it about?
Come on, dude. All right, let me show you. Let me bring up share a screen here. It's a Mark IV production movie. It's this guy right here. It's a really corny old movie, and it starts like, I think, with like a gong sound or something, and then it shows this weird hipster 70s Jesus People youth group singing a song about how you've been left behind, and then this lady wakes up and there's the raptures happen. You've never seen this?
No.
You need to see A Thief in the Night.
Zod, you gotta understand. I don't remember
help me
9/11.
How many of you?
I haven't been around this earth as long as you have. I just haven't. I'm sorry.
How many of you in the chat have seen A Thief in the Night? Tell me.
See, now look at Zod asking people in the chat. He's doing the streamer thing. I think I've heard this movie talked about in passing. Either you've mentioned this before or somebody else has mentioned this before.
Yeah, it's one of those things you're going to hear about it. Whoa. So we have so far a nope.
Nope.
Never
Never
heard of
heard
it.
of it. Nope. This is a you thing. See, Zod tried to make this a me problem. It's actually a Zod problem. Okay.
Okay, this is like A Thief in the Night is the weird Christian movie. It's like, so let me tell you about it. Production values, quality by almost any objective standard is lower than even the like the Left Behind movies and stuff. It's like terrible production values, totally corny. Everybody's dressed like totally 70s people. But there's something about the way they do it that just like makes it even creepier and it gives it this surreal otherworldly feel that makes it work as a freaky like end times movie that I don't know, you just couldn't reproduce it.
You know what we need to do? We need to make a riff tracks. We need to watch the movie and then release our commentary of watching the movie so that people can play our commentary as they're watching the movie. Huh?
That would something like that would work. Yeah.
That's how you avoid copyright.
Yeah, because they're doing the watching, right?
Exactly. But you know what? Let's talk about a movie that I have seen that people did comment on, which was the Left Behind movies. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I have seen it. And can we talk about the fact that this might be the greatest get for the Christian media world ever? Nicolas Cage. Hello. The guy who's hunting for that national treasure is in that movie on the plane and freaking out. That's awesome. That's great. I love that for him because you know about Nicolas Cage's like movie philosophy. Have you heard about this?
Do whatever they pay you for?
No. Nicolas Cage is infamous for saying yes to like every single project he's ever given ever, and he's like talked about this. And that is why he was in the Left Behind movies, because somebody just like pitched it to him and he's just like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Which is awesome. So I love that. I love that for him. I love that for Christians everywhere. They get to have one good actor, and it's questionable acting at best because it's Nicolas Cage, but you know, everybody loves Nicolas Cage, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think I've seen that one. I might have seen
see, now I gotta res you. Okay. Now I did see somebody talk about this. You know about Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you actually
seen
it?
Nobody likes that. That's not even a movie. Like nobody's seen that one. It is a
movie. It has an IMDb page that makes it a movie.
Oh, I know it technically is, but it's like two guys sitting there talking in a car, and yeah.
That's part of it, yeah.
I know it's technically considered a movie, but like it doesn't have most of the plot or most of the things you consider a movie. And I don't even think, isn't it stretching to like hit an hour by padding itself out?
Let's see. Oh, now I got to go to the IMDb page and figure that out. Here's the top cast in this movie. We have Kirk Cameron as Kirk, some guy playing Saint Nick, another character called Conspiracy Theorist, and about a dozen characters called Party Goer on here.
Yeah.
And then Kirk's sister and Christian. And that is a Christian. Like, that is the name. I don't think that's a name. I think that just means like, oh, this is a Christian person in this movie.
But his name is literally Christian, though. It's supposed to be a little bit of an allegory. Is that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Kirk Cameron, what a grift, dude. If I gave up all my morals, Christian movie industry, hands down, that'd be the funniest thing for me to get into. Right? You just get to make garbage movies all the time.
If you wanted to commit to it, that could like be the funniest long-term Poe like ever.
Like an Andy Kaufman style character where I'm just like really into the Christian faith, but also make really bad movies.
If we were like directors and writers and could drum up some money and stuff like that, it would be the best prank in the world to like do 10 years of Christian movies that push the limits of badness, but they buy them, and the Christians watch them, or PureFlix buys them because it's like a virtue thing for them. And then we just troll them for 10 years and then announce it at the end that we were never making these movies sincerely. Like, that would be the best thing any person had ever done, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool, but nobody is brave enough like us to do that. So
we have a person who talked about A Thief in the Night had something to share. This person actually writes like a blog, I believe is what this would be labeled as. And they talk about, let me share the screen. They talk about growing up in the evangelical church and watching A Thief in the Night. So let me share. Well, shoot. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Okay. There we go. It's a whole movie about how they grew up in evangelical church and got shown A Thief in the Night, and how there were like tons of other way more positive movies they could have been shown. So if that kind of thing interests you.
Yeah, literally any other movie, right?
Yeah. Like they talked about all these, I don't know if this is the specific article, but they had one where they talked about all the uplifting things with good messages that could have been shown. Oops, I need to stop sharing my screen because I started showing other windows. Sorry. And how A Thief in the Night just freaks you out. A Thief in the Night is a legitimately freaky movie, especially if you're a kid. The song, the fear of the person running around and everybody disappearing, it's corny as hell, but it's good at what it does in a really weird way. So
okay,
I won't keep trying to go back to it.
No, you know that movie about the Huckleberry Finn claymation movie? I think it's actually called it's called The Adventures of Mark Twain. Do you know about this? You ever seen this?
I don't think so.
Okay, so basically it's these kids that get I guess they get drawn into the world of Mark Twain stories, and in one scene they literally meet Satan, and it's like a weird claymation Satan. He's not like a devil figure. He's just like the hands holding up a mask, which is really freaky. And then like he makes these little people out of clay, and then he watches them like be violent to each other and kill each other, and then he eventually like destroys them. And it's like really, really freaky. That scene freaked me out as a kid. But I guess you've never seen that one. Adventures of Mark Twain. And I don't think it's an explicitly Christian movie. It's just Satan is just in it for like 5 minutes. It's very weird. So
yeah, that is strange. Okay, there's one that came up just in the chat that I want to talk about. You probably know what this is. God is a black woman, the Holy Spirit is an Asian woman, and Jesus walks on water.
Yeah, that's The Shack. I've seen The Shack.
Yes.
And listen, story time, okay? I saw The Shack when I was I was deconstructed at this point, I think, but I watched it with my Christian friends, and a girl cried next to me watching this movie. She thought it was the most emotionally uplifting thing ever. But we all laughed at the scene where Jesus is running on the water. We were all about that. We thought that was hilarious. But she really thought there was this beautiful story about this guy, I don't know, forgiving the murderer of his family. I think, spoiler alert, is the plot of that movie. But yeah, it really shed some tears. But yes, the Holy Spirit is presented as an Asian woman, I think, to draw symbolism for like Eastern, like esoteric sort of mysticalism, I guess, and ascribe that to the Holy Spirit, which is kind of racist. And then God is a black woman, and Jesus is just an Arab dude. So yeah, it's a very weird movie, but I have seen it.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So do you care if I share a little video here that I made?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very it's one of my old ones from like way back when. It's called The Shack in Under a Minute. And I think The Shack, the reason I brought that up is The Shack is one of the most vile movies in terms of its message.
I don't remember being vile, but you have to tell me.
Okay, this movie will tell you all. It's called The Shack in Under a Minute. Let me try to share it. All right, this is very, very old time Prophet Azad. This was like
look at this.
Years and years ago. This is
Azad deep cut right here, folks. This is for the real fans. I hope we don't get copyright striked by Zod.
Probably.
Oh, there's no audio coming from me.
Oh, that's lovely. No audio.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we'd have to
Talk for a minute. Talk about the next movie that comes to your mind.
Well, I was going to talk about have you seen or heard of Audacity? Do you know about Audacity? I've never seen it myself. I guess you have.
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
It's a movie basically talking about how being gay is wrong, but like it tries to do it from an empathetic angle, but it still comes to the conclusion that being gay is a sin and you just can't be gay. It's just not good for you. But
so would you say that they love the sinners and hate the sin?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, but like the marketing for the movie, I forgot about this. If you go look it up, there's the title, like when they have the credits at the top, it uses like a rainbow font, and it's supposed to be like the pride flag or whatever. But yeah, it's like interviewing people about formerly gay people or people who were gay, quote unquote, are now Christian stuff. Made by Ray Comfort, by the way. So it's like,
oh,
it's
that's
a banger.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try showing it again. See if we get audio now. It's not going to be yet.
Okay. The Prophet of Zod Ministries.
Did you get audio now?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. Huh. Looks like someone's kidnapping a little girl down there. What do you know? Derp-de-derp, dum-de-dum. Oh, well, look at that. He just dragged her into a shack and started molesting her. Well, I guess I shouldn't just sit here watching this. So I'll look over there instead. I am an awesome me. I reign from here above with wisdom, power. Huh. Now it looks like he's about to kill her. Yep, I'm pretty positive that he is. And he just did. Yeah, whatevs, I guess. Oh no! Now her father's upset that she died and confused about why I let it happen. Dear me, I better go help him.
Nice. No, that is okay. That is why it's vile. I remember that now. It is kind of like a Job situation where it's like bad shit happens, but shut the fuck up. Like that is kind of the message of that movie, I think.
Yeah, and I honestly, I never actually read the book or saw the movie.
Wow.
But that was the takeaway, was that God like let this horrible thing happen, and he suddenly became concerned when somebody had questions about it.
Fake fan. Zod, you didn't even watch the movie and you made an atheist YouTube cartoon parody on YouTube. Wow. Incredible.
It was a long time ago. Now everybody's going to cancel me for something I did years and years ago.
I'm just saying the Christians have ammo now. They're going to be like, wow, atheists have never read the Bible. They've never even seen the Christian movies that we produce. So how can we trust them?
But is that not really the general point of the movie?
I mean, it's a little more nuanced, I think, but how would you know? You haven't seen it, Zod. All right, we got a good super chat from Andrew Sword, given $6.66, saying, help me out. Apocalypse's blind woman makes deal with Satan for her eyesight. The deal is outed to Christian survival group by a cup on the ground. I don't know. I don't know this movie. It's not.
Yeah, do we have a title here?
It's not the Book of Eli, is it?
No, that one's it's like a surprise twist. He's blind, right?
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Spoiler alert!
Oh, come on!
I'm on a roll tonight.
Damn. Yeah, look at this. Paleoism says he's more pissed you copied Non-Stamp Collector. Damn, Zod.
Non-Stamp Collector is actually cool with it. He liked some of my videos and we chatted a bit and stuff. He's a cool guy. He liked that I did that. I didn't exactly copy him, except insofar as it was garbagey, MS Paint until I started using my
Hold on.
Go
Are you
Animate.
saying, are you calling non-stamp collectors work garbage?
The art is garbage, and that's part of his style, and he'll acknowledge it, and he
Whoa.
does it on purpose.
Zod is just, dude, Zod is ready to, he's ready to fight today. Zod's coming out of the gate. He is ready.
You got to put butter on me because I'm on a roll. Wait, why would you? Do you put butter on things that are on rolls? I don't know. Maybe I'm taking the analogy too literally.
Jesus. Oh man.
Actually,
Yeah, actually, Jesus. Speaking of Jesus, do you want to talk about Jesus appearing in people's dreams?
sure. I want to talk about one more bad movie though.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
one that I might want to do more with this at some point because this movie is like terrible. It was terrible for culture.
Oh wait, are you gonna say heaven is for real?
I live in the South. We put butter on everything. Yeah.
True.
I have family in the South. They put butter on, in, and around literally everything.
It's true.
It is Fireproof.
Oh, Fireproof.
Yeah, the one where like he is like borderline abusive to his wife, and how does he make it up again?
They renew their wedding vows or something, right?
Oh, he gets a book. His dad gives him this book where they stand out in this weird field. It's just this random field kind of halfway out in the middle of nowhere, and there's like a cross there for some reason. And the dad gives him this. No, it's the Love Dare book. And so it's a calendar. So first day you like make them a cup of coffee. One day you do something nice. You say something nice to them, and this is supposed to fix your marriage. And
Right.
yeah, as somebody who was a Christian at the time that happened, and had a marriage that maybe could have used a little fixing, I have a little bit of a sour thing for this movie because, our church would like push that book and give it out and have us do all the exercises, and I don't know, it was pretty crass.
Ooh.
And
That's funny.
It shows.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it just shows how superficial Christians' perspectives are on everything. Like you think that you just like, I don't know, you've dug this deficit of kindness toward your spouse, and if you just keep persisting and every day do one more thing, whether they reject it or accept it, number one, that's very simplistic and that's not how it works. There's no real conflict resolution or digging to the bottom of the actual issues.
True.
Number two, maybe there are deep enough problems that you shouldn't feel obligated to sit there and do acts of kindness no matter what the other person's done or you've done or what. And then one thing I thought was just absolutely horrible. He holds this big grudge against his mom because he thought that she had divorced his father or was about to divorce his father. And, then they resolved it. Do you remember what the resolution is to that?
No,
How-
it's been 10 years since I've seen that movie at least. What
He
was the
doesn't
resolution?
decide not to be a giant dick to his mom just because she almost left his dad a long time ago. Everything gets resolved when he realized his dad was actually the one that almost left. So now his mom's not a filthy almost whore.
Oh, I don't. That's funny that's like, you remember so much more of that movie than I do. Do you know what my takeaway from that movie was? I remember literally one thing, and it's the scene where the guy is just really struggling because he sees like a picture of a sexy lady on the internet and he wants to click on her. And
he was struggling with it.
He was struggling. And it's like, it's not even softcore porn. I think it's literally just like a woman in like a sweater or something, right? I could be misremembering it, but it's
just a woman's face, and it's on a pop-up that says "Wanna look?" or
want more or something. And he's just like, "Oh, I'm struggling so hard not to click on this woman on the internet." Where it's like, if my partner was watching porn, I'd be like, "Oh, what are you watching?" Like, I wouldn't even blink. But it's like such a big deal for him. It's just really funny.
And he like goes and does an Office Space on his computer out on the street, and there's a couple. There's this couple.
He's like, he stands up. He's like, "Ugh, why is it so hard?" He's like freaking out about it. It's so funny.
And this old couple across the street, like, maybe should have called the police, not like, "Oh, that Caleb, he's up to it again."
Yeah.
Like, anyway, that's That's that one. Unplanned, somebody brought up. Unplanned is the worst. Unplanned is like,
Oh, that's that's the abortion propaganda movie, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like where they have like the
Even go
CG
there.
baby or whatever. Yeah, I think I know about that one.
And they like try to pressure sell abortions like they're selling a car. It's like,
Right.
that was one of the worst. And then one more that somebody brought up. I've never seen this one, but I saw like people talk about it and do reviews. It's like the funniest sounding things. Gramps Goes to College.
What? I've never heard this. Wait,
You've
what?
never heard of Gramps Goes to College?
No, is that like a Goofy movie too, where like Goofy goes to college with his son Max, or is it better?
I think it's a really old man who is the writer and the director and all that stuff. And he portrays himself, I think, as some kind of really big stud. But essentially, in short, I think he stars with this young woman who he has a creepy vibe with on screen as actors, even though she's playing his granddaughter, I think.
Oh,
And the whole thing is, I believe he goes to college and debates a professor about evolution, and of course wins because that's inevitable.
So it's just God's Not Dead.
Not God's Not Dead. It's more like what's the chicken and the egg one? Yeah, it sounds like something Forrest Valkai would have reviewed.
Zod, your knowledge of Christian movie lore is much more extensive than mine. Clearly, I think you have a deeper well in which to draw from. I'm thankful. You know what? My parents let me watch Harry Potter. I got to watch secular movies. I'm really glad about that because I feel like I'd be a different person.
A matter of faith. A matter of faith. I think the professor was the guy from Night Court, I think. And
from Night Court, hell yeah.
Yeah. So then it's very similar to Gramps Goes to College, except it has like halfway competent production values. Gramps Goes to College looks like a weird old man took a camcorder and followed people around. But this one, the dad gets all upset because his daughter might learn about evolution. So he debates. He starts to debate, but then there's this old professor who got shamed out of being in college because, of course, they drive all the people who believe in intelligent design out of the college scene. And so they end up winning this debate. And then at the end, instead of God's Not Dead, they go something like the chicken came first or something. You're supposed to text that to all your friends. Is very strange.
Gross. Do you remember a few years ago when CBS made that show called God Friended Me?
Oh, yeah. I never actually watched it, but what?
That was in 2018. They made two seasons of that show. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe that kept going after one. I watched the first episode of it, and it's funny because there's characters in the movie that get friended by God on Facebook, and their day job is like they're like atheist like radio people. And like I just felt this like this tension in my chest when I saw it because it's like, oh, they're literally making fun of me. Like, they're literally making fun of people who like talk in front of a microphone about how God's not real. And it's like, oh no, they're directly attacking my person.
Yeah, it's a classic Doctor Strange thing. Like you make fun of like some kind of woo, and then since it's a fictional universe, they can just write that the woo's true, and then haha, you silly person, you didn't believe.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty much that. But here's the thing: if God of the Bible friended me on Facebook and communicated with me, we would be having a different story. Like, but that hasn't happened. So I don't know. I don't know what the point of the show is. Is the point of the show if God friends you on Facebook, you gotta accept that? Or I don't know.
Also, it wouldn't really blow me away because I've heard of catfishing.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, there is that too.
Grandpa found his computer yesterday, and oh my gosh, God is friends with me on
Don't
Facebook.
You remember they like the profile picture of God is like a little cloud, and then like they look up at the sky, and it's like the exact same cloud or whatever.
I don't know.
I remember way more about it than I thought I did, but
I guess you win this one. All right, should we start talking about Jesus appearing to people in Gaza?
Let's talk about Jesus appearing to people in Gaza, because Jesus, as everyone knows, has no affiliation with the Muslim religion whatsoever. in no way, shape, or form. But anyway, yeah, let's talk
In
about
fact, you might say he's anti-Muslim because it's a false religion.
it.
So have you heard of this at all, by the way? I've heard versions of this rumor before. Have you heard this? Like something about Jesus appeared to a Muslim people?
Yeah, I've heard versions of this, I suppose. You mean like before this specific? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've heard, some wives' tale of some guy was a Muslim, but then Jesus came to him in a vision, and then they became a Christian. That kind of story.
Yeah, I've heard it brought up just as a generic answer to the like, why do people in different countries not believe in God, or like, why do people believe in whatever country believe in their specific culture's religion and not in quote unquote the true God? And then what about them? How do they? And I've heard there's stories of Jesus appearing to people in their dreams and then they get saved and blah, blah, blah. But it was just scattered. And this is the first time I've heard this. So I don't know. What are your general thoughts about this kind of thing?
Well, I mean, I think there's versions of this in every religion. I guarantee you there's people, I don't know, getting visions of the angel Gabriel or whatever, telling him that Muhammad is the final prophet. Like, I don't know. There's probably lots of stories about this in all kinds of religious faith backgrounds. I don't think it's exclusive to Christianity, but I think it's just more sinister, I think, when we hear it as Christians or as former Christians, just because like we both know people who would spread that kind of stuff around, even though it's definitely not true.
I don't think I ever heard. It might have been one of those things that lingered when I was a Christian. I think I heard it more once I was a non-Christian because people would like more bring it up to me as a actual excuse. Jason Sherwood, people are saying online, this is where I first got exposed to this, was on Facebook. Somebody passed it around and I'm like, I shared it. And like, does this make like, number one, there's no reason to believe this. Like people are accepting this just based on a meme in a lot of cases. And then number two, my big thought here is, okay, you're a Christian. What would it mean to you if you had a dream with Muhammad in it, or someone who told you they were Allah? Like, would that impact you in the least? Would that budge you out of your religion and make you suddenly convert to another? I really don't think so. So what kind of weird world do you live in where somebody in another different religion, in another culture, who probably has as much investment in their religion as you have in yours, they wake up one morning, holy cow, I had a dream about Jesus last night. I'm going to go join another religion. Like they don't take the most basic step toward putting themselves in other people's shoes. And it totally shows. And I just think it's kind of weird.
It is silly. What I was going to say was if you're a Christian and you get a dream and you see Muhammad, you might not even recognize him because you may not have ever seen a picture of Muhammad. So how would you even know? Maybe, I guess if they say I am Muhammad and of that Muhammad, that guy, not the other Muhammads that but the big one. So
like if I converted or changed my belief based on every weird ass thing I had a dream about, like I would have a very strange life.
That's a good point. No, I want to live in a world where I only know truth through dreams. What kind of life would that be?
The old men, cool. Your young men will have visions, your old men will dream dreams or something. I don't know. That's how you get knowledge when you're an intelligent community of people.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for me to kick this thing off?
Yeah, let's watch this great video.
All right. So this is, let me go back to the title here because it's spectacular.
Look at
this is the way it's
you comment.
This is the way it's titled on YouTube. I take the literal title in all caps. Jesus appears in Gaza. Hundreds of Muslims convert. The incredible miracle.
The incredible miracle.
Like they really got to shout about this because this is important news here.
Absolutely. Got to get those clicks.
Oh, the name of the movie with the blind woman was called Apocalypse 2.
Apocalypse 2.
I'll have to check it out.
Okay. Interesting.
Very serene.
I also hate their logo a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like
Christian way.
Dear brothers and sisters in Christ, let me lead you on a journey of faith and hope, where divine power is manifested amidst the darkness of war.
Yes.
In Gaza, a land torn by conflict, God has wrought a wondrous miracle that profoundly touches the soul and renews faith.
This sounds like something you
Today,
listen on Calm
I
to
bring
fall
you an
asleep.
extraordinary testimony, a tale that resonates with the power of our Lord Jesus Christ. In the heart of Gaza, where war and
Okay, I just want to say real quick, like that was like 30, almost 40 seconds. And they basically played music and then just really hyped this thing. The most amazing testimony you're ever going to hear. Blah, 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 blah.
despair envelop lives, a miracle has occurred.
Oh, sorry. I cut you off.
Well, I was just going to say, and you're going to see this, but like there's a dark side to YouTube in case you're not familiar, right? And I know you are, Zab, but I'm talking to our audience, okay? You've got real people like myself and Zod making content, and then there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels that are just trying to farm on popular topics that will make videos with AI voices and stock images, make this shit in like 30 minutes and pump it out every day. And this is, I feel like this is one of those channels that is just doing that and is just capitalizing on, Christian stuff, right? Like there is a dark person behind this channel. Like I do not think they have good intentions. Like I don't think this is for Christian people. I really think this is somebody taking advantage of Christian people, but I don't know that for sure. I just get that sense.
Maybe we'll do a deep dive into their content sometime.
Yeah.
All right, that would be fun.
Occurred that echoes with God's grace. Over 200 Muslims have reported encountering Jesus, a clear sign of his presence and transformative power. Before we delve into this miracle's testimony, we must understand the context in which it occurred. Gaza, a region ravaged by war, has witnessed and continues to witness unimaginable suffering. The entire population of Gaza lives under siege, trapped amidst the city's ruins, with no chance of escape to safer areas.
Okay, I got a couple things to say about how they set the context here. First, Dan, do you have any thoughts?
This is not, I don't know. Do they mean the entire Gaza Strip? Like everybody is stuck under city ruins? Like they're, I don't know if they know what Gaza actually is. But yeah, it's very weird.
Well, trapped amidst the city's ruins. I take it as meaning, like I think Jimmy Carter said, they're basically in an open air prison.
Right.
Even though I don't know they're really showing the appropriate and properly contextual concern over that.
No.
And this is part of what I'm irritated with here. This kind of gets me in a bad way. Like this is a really sad and serious situation. And these people need real humanitarian help. Everybody should be like going, holy cow, these people are stuck in this area. They have nowhere to go. They're getting bombed the shit out of. They're trapped. No supplies going in. We need to do something about this. This focuses on basically visions of Jesus and the magnificent things it did for them. Like, I don't know.
No, I totally get what you're saying. The evangelical mindset. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, Christians like to brag about how much charity they do and stuff like this. But could you imagine if atheists had the same, or some kind of secular organization had the same resources and the same entrenched institutions for doing charitable work, but they weren't distracted by dumb bullshit every time something like this happened and they put things to more good use? What could be done? It's kind of infuriating me. Go ahead.
No, it is. I was just going to point out, right, to the evangelical mind, the most important thing is not that these people have access to food, water, or safe shelter. It is the fact that they're Christian so that they can go to heaven when they die. So like that is the real win here. It's not that, oh, these people in a crisis situation received humanitarian aid. It's, oh, we saved these Muslims from the depths of hell. Or not even we, but like Jesus decided to save them now, apparently. And we should be celebrating because of that. Like, because they think the way we do now.
There's two sides of this. One of them is just this gross, rah, people are coming to our cause or seeing things our way side to it, which I feel in a more visceral level in this. But then there's also the part that there is an internal logic that, oh, souls have been saved, and that's way more important, which does make a certain amount of internal sense, but there's no reason to believe that. And that really like messes up people's priorities.
Yeah.
We have a super chat here.
Is that pesos? Does MX mean pesos? Do we get 200 pesos?
I'm not sure, but yeah, whatever that is. Thank you. If that's
Yeah.
dollars, that's a lot of them. I don't know if that means max or what, but
yes, that he says yes. That's 200 pesos. Oh my
200
goodness.
pesos.
That's awesome. Oh my god. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. If I make a video of Muhammad appearing to 200 Christians in the war-torn inner city of New York or Atlanta and present it as a miracle, will you all promote it? You should write to them and ask. I think that's a very good question.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Yeah, no, again, like I don't believe, first of all, that the events that they're describing here actually happened for obvious reasons, but also like it's just people appearing in a dream is not enough. Even if it's 200 people, it's not enough for me. Donald Trump probably appeared in 200 people's dreams last night. That doesn't mean he's the Messiah. You know? But I mean,
yeah. And one other thing about this, besides the priorities being really gross, I like how much, and they're going to keep doing this, how much they keep hyping how dramatic it is that these people are in a desperate situation. It's a war-torn thing. I'm like, well, yeah, that doesn't make your story more amazing. It just makes it a little more expected. Like that's when, people start turning toward religious things or thinking they're having visions and stuff.
But if you remember, like back in the day, and I know this because I've seen videos of this, not because I remember this myself, but like in 03 and 02, like people were doing like the same thing. Like, oh, look what's happening in Iraq. And all these people, we're getting these people help from these, these areas and stuff. Like I feel like this has always been a thing of like exploitation of like foreign people to appease Christians at home to get money for them for various, pseudo humanitarian causes. This is like a grift as old as time, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So in the next few seconds, we're going to see like the single most telling thing about this miracle. This will solve a lot of stuff right here. There's more good stuff after this, but this with shocking speed, and I don't know.
Amidst this chaos, a group of Muslim men, burdened by pain and loss, found an unexpected refuge, the Word of God, shared by faithful servants of Christ. These men, many of whom had lost their children in the conflict, were nourished, clothed, and cared for by Christian ministers operating in Gaza.
So,
yeah,
there might be a natural explanation for this miracle. Can you think of what it might be, Dan?
Oh, no. I can't think of anything, Zod. That's clearly a miracle. Come on. What do you mean? Of course.
So these people were deeply traumatized and actively being exposed to Christianity when suddenly they had dreams of Jesus, apparently. Also, these same people, at least, even if you take this story at face value, these same people were in a ravaged, war-torn area. Christians show up and tell them about God and are giving them food and clothes and stuff. They come back the next day to the same people who have been giving them food and say, hey, by the way, I had visions of Jesus. Like, I don't know, maybe there's a motivation for that.
Yeah, for real. It's if this story is true, which I don't think is, I think this is all obviously made up BS. But look, of course there's going to be people, of course there's going to be Christians who are helping people in humanitarian crisis, and that's great. I'm happy that they're doing that, but it's kind of weird when it's like you have to have Jesus involved with it, or you can't receive the aid unless you're a Christian. I don't think that's what a lot of people are doing. But if that's what's happening here, that's gross. Sorry, it's just gross. It's not a comfortable thing. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. You should feel weird about that.
And we got a comment, if it's well known, if you appease the Christian missionary, they're going to help you more. That's really what happened. Not only were they being exposed to the message when they saw this vision of Jesus, but they had a motivation to come back and say something that.
I saw this working with homeless populations. I'm sure you've seen this too. Yeah.
So, I see something here that I'm really interested in.
Got a new document from my J. Warner Wallace open records request. Uh-oh.
Yeah, this was put in. Tell me if I'm wrong, YouTube punk. I believe that's how you say your name. This request was put in the middle of the summer, like in July. And by state of California law, they have 10 days to turn around the record request. And as of like the last couple of weeks, they got a message back saying, hey, we need more time to process this. So tell me about that afterwards, if you don't mind, what exactly you found and what it said, because I've been on pins and needles about that.
A little side quest.
I thought they were just going to endlessly stonewall on this, which they were clearly doing for a while, or at least seemed like they were doing.
Yeah, we got to get the deets on that. But
Yeah.
let's finish this video, or at least keep going.
I was going to tell you one thing. There were actually some missionaries from a church I used to go to. They would go down to Mexico and hike around and stuff like that and offer people food. But they would actually they wouldn't just give the food freely. They'd maybe give some or whatever, but they wanted like some sign of devotion or involvement from the people before they would start. They had to like come to a service or do something like that, because they want to make sure they're not just coming for the food. So yeah, they're going to performatively jump through your hoops and act like they're interested in your religion if it gets them food.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I'm a little surprised, because this detail is in most tellings of this on YouTube, because this gets passed around by various Christian or whoever YouTubers. And why would you tell this? This is the part you'd kind of want to keep quiet, I think. But anyway, let's move along.
Professor Michael Licona, a servant of Christ and president of Risen Jesus Inc., has received reports from Christian ministers in Palestine about miraculous conversions. Hundreds of Muslims have embraced the Christian faith in these dire times, seemingly spurred by a prodigious event. These men, oppressed by the pain of war, have lost children and hope. Yet in the midst of their suffering, the Lord acted. During the reading of the Bible, during the sharing of Jesus' message of peace, a great miracle occurred. Jesus appeared to more than 200 of them in their dreams. These men, living in a context of great suffering and violence, found comfort and solace in Jesus' appearance, and following this miraculous event, they decided to convert to Christianity. An extraordinary event that surpasses rationality, a shared appearance by hundreds of men, an event that might seem inexplicable, yet testifies to our Lord's presence in places where human suffering and violence are strongest.
So, this event surpasses rationality. That's kind of strange phrasing to begin with, but
it is. Watching this again though makes me just think about the shallowness of a conversion act. Like, I know you've seen this, where you have these baptisms at these churches and stuff, and people commit their lives and stuff, and it's like, what did that really? I mean, maybe they changed for like a week, but for most people, I mean, does it really commit to a lifelong change? It's kind of like saying if you're an alcoholic or something, and you're like, oh, I'm going to commit to be sober. Okay, that's great. But if you start drinking again a week later, well, you're not sober, right? It's like, I just feel like, what does it mean when you're saying you're a Christian at this point? If this is like your first time hearing about Christianity, do you even know what that means, really? Like, I don't know. How can you dedicate your life to something you don't know anything about? And how meaningful is that? If anything, it's almost insulting.
When I was a kid, there was this, I don't know, I think he was my step grandpa or something like that. I remember him sitting at the table. He was like, he would drink wildly and would get abusive and stuff like that. I remember him sitting at the table in our house with the Bible open in front of him saying, I've already quit drinking and it's because of this book. And soon I'm going to quit smoking too. And, it's all. And then it lasted about as long as you'd expect. And he ended up going to jail for taking a woman hostage in his house.
Oh, Jesus.
He was
damn, Zod, what
great
the fuck?
guy.
Oh gosh.
But that's the transformative power of Jesus, right? Like,
yeah.
And there's always something offered to you. Like in this case, it's tangible food and clothing or whatever they needed. But in other cases, like when they bring you to a camp, they have fun activities. Even the environment in which they're trying to get you all jazzed up on God, even if it's not even if it's not a salvation thing, they're still trying to get you into some kind of revival spirit or turn around your life. And I remember how many of those I went to that I felt like that was going to happen. oh my gosh, in the presence of God, I'm never going to be the same, and I'm going to pray every day with all my friends and seek the Lord. But it's all offering you something, some kind of either experience or something like that. And of course that doesn't bring about change in life. That's not how anything works.
If somebody came to an atheist event and they were like, wow, this is incredible. I think I'm an atheist now. I'm going to commit my life to this, or I'm going to completely change my ways. I would say that's fucking weird. Don't do that. Like, like that's not appropriate. I don't think that's good human development. I would say, hey, take your time with this thing. If you're deconstructing your own religious background and you think that maybe the word atheist is a more appropriate label for you, figure out if that's even meaningful for you first. Don't do it because a bunch of YouTubers you like use it. Like, I don't give a shit what I say. You live your life. Like, do what's more meaningful to you. I'm not going to throw you into hell for not thinking the way that I do. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
I've never once heard someone be like, oh my gosh, that was a powerful song. From this day forward, I'm going to be much more careful about my epistemology and how I check my sources.
God, that was such a powerful Christian parody. I'm going to make sure. I'm going to make sure to never think like those religious people ever again.
Yeah, and if you watch my YouTube for any amount of time, one of my biggest pet peeves is the instantly turn your life around because of Jesus thing.
Yeah.
Not only because it's fake, but because it leaves people locked in these really bad cycles of repeated behavior because they don't approach. Some of them might, but they're encouraged by this teaching and this idea not to approach their problems systematically and carefully and try to change over time. It's like, throw yourself at the feet of Jesus and everything's better. That's literally
one of the reasons why I run my call-in show, and I say my call-in show, but the Truth Wanted call-in show when I host, the way I do it is because I understand that when people are calling, generally, if they want to talk to me, they're working some stuff out. Not every time, but a lot of people call because they're working some stuff out and they want to hear my take on something. It's not because, some of them, they want to try to like convert me back or whatever, right? But some of them are just like, they're thinking stuff through and they want to try some arguments, or they want to see what it's like to talk to somebody from that other side. And that's part of the process. I'm not expecting by the end of that conversation, they're going to devote their life to atheism or whatever the fuck, right? Like that's just not a healthy way to live your life. And it's just not natural either. Obviously, if this event was true and 200 Muslims came to this thing, said they became Christians, like I guarantee you a month later, maybe 10 of them are still going to be like acting as a Christian. I don't know, but that tends to be how it is.
About 10 will wander back and see if there's any more food at that place.
Yeah. I
like Pandora's comment. So an amazing God, an almighty God can't stop the suffering, can't appear to a conscious audience. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Can't appear to more than a tiny fraction of the victims. All you can do is a dream cameo. Anybody impressed?
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It's such an asinine idea of like a God revealing himself to people. And this is the lack of the saving power of atheism. It took me about 5 years to start doing hookers after becoming an atheist.
Is cooking tonight. That's awesome.
All right. You ready to move along?
Yeah.
Jesus gave strength and courage to those who had lost everything: brothers, sisters, relatives, and children. This is not the first time the Lord has used his servant, Professor Lacona, to lead people to Christ. Lacona, author of books such as The Case for the Resurrection of Jesus and Paul Meets Muhammad, has been instrumental in the conversion journey of Nabil Qureshi, formerly a Muslim and now a fervent defender of the Christian faith. Lacona's work has touched thousands of lives, bringing historical evidence of the Christian faith that has transformed many hearts.
Okay, so Dan, I'm not super familiar with Mike Lacona.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about this guy?
Mike Lacona is a Christian professor. Because we talked a little bit about it today, and I had to remind myself, because he is a Christian professor of New Testament studies at a university in Houston. And he did write a book. Well, he's written several books. I've read one of his books, and I've read the critiques of that book. But yeah, like as far as like, being a professor goes, yeah, he's a professor at a Christian university. I don't know, take with that as you will. um it's not like, you know, there's not Muslim professors at Muslim universities. Like, that's also a thing. I don't know. So what? Okay. Why? I don't know. I don't know why it has to be super meaningful in this context, but this guy is talking about him like he's next to Jesus, you know?
And I would take him, maybe I'm wrong, but like Lacona is still less slimy than guys like William Lane Craig, but still out there. That's my impression as I see him. I haven't been exposed to a lot of his work, but my impression of him is he's basically another person repeating the same silly apologetics arguments, just maybe a little more packaged and with a little bit more apparent dignity.
Yeah. So the book I've read is this one, The Resurrection of Jesus, a new historiographical approach. And he's basically, you know, making this case not only for a historical Jesus, but also for like the resurrection and stuff. And so I was turned on to this book because when I was first sort of getting on the scene and people were trying to like bring me back, they were like, oh, you should read this book if you're not convinced that there is a historical case for the resurrection of Jesus. And I read it, and I still don't think there's a good historical case for the resurrection of Jesus. But I think actually Bart Ehrman actually has comments on that book too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's one of those books.
Yeah, and I don't know, apologetics about like evidence for the historical reliability of Jesus, like that's some of the most boring territory to me. They just repeat the same things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And
Well, this one talking specifically about the resurrection, right? That the resurrection was, you know, it's you know, the minimal facts arguments kind of stuff.
That's the kind of stuff I mean. I don't mean necessarily.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't mean the historicity versus mythicism thing. I'm talking about like the evidence for the resurrection. It's all like this very repetitive checklist of things people go over and over again. And all they do is just emphatically insist on it. And it's incredibly boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
But basically we just have another typical apologist who I guess seems to have an interest in converting Muslims passing along this story. So like, I don't know. I'm not super duper convinced.
This miracle in Gaza should be celebrated by all Christians worldwide. It is a clear sign that God is working even in the darkest places, bringing hope and salvation. As we celebrate these conversions, we cannot overlook the challenges our Christian brothers and sisters are facing in Gaza. We, as Christians, cannot remain indifferent and, in our own way, hope and ask that Israel evacuates Christians and civilians to safer areas. At this moment,
but not
Christians
any other people, just Christians.
Yeah, that was the big thing that stuck out to me here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we the challenges that face our Christian brothers, and it's like we really hope they evacuate the Christians and civilians. You know, like it's just really gross sense of priorities. I want to listen to something here. If you mentioned something about being read by an AI, just listen to this very carefully and watch the text and see if there's like a weird, awkward sentence break.
It is a clear sign that God is working even in the darkest places, bringing hope and salvation. As we celebrate these conversions, we cannot overlook the challenges our Christian brothers and sisters are facing in Gaza. We, as Christians, cannot remain indifferent and, in our own way, hope and ask that Israel evacuates Christians and civilians to safer areas.
Did that transition make any sense?
No, it doesn't.
It sounds like an AI trying to repeat a message, and they got the emphasis or the break totally wrong.
Well, it literally is an AI.
Yeah,
that's an AI voice, 100%.
But aside from the voice, like the fact that they put a period there on the text, it sounds like a lot of this is looking very auto-generated with very little tending to by humans.
I'm serious. This is probably in a nation outside of the West, somebody in India or somebody wherever is taking stories from other Christian blog posts and putting it into an AI generator thing in English and is making these videos. Like I am fully convinced of that. You see that with all kinds of other channels I don't see why it wouldn't be the case here for this Christian channel. But yeah, I fully think that's what's happening.
No, that tracks with what I've seen, because
Yeah.
I kept watching for videos about this on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and they all, it's almost as if there's this whole burst of videos by Christian channels that are essentially reading or paraphrasing the same article, is what it sounds like down to the order of events and stuff. It's all the same thing. So I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
At this moment, Christians in Gaza are trapped in churches, running out of food, water, and medical supplies. It's a dire situation, with Palestinian Christians forced to live amidst the violence of war. Despite the hardships, these believers remain steadfast in their faith, witnesses to the saving power of Christ even in the darkest circumstances.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, Zod. Gaza is fucking Muslim. Like,
Yeah.
It's not a Christian place predominantly. So the fact that they're specifically wishing for Christians to be safe is like a very small fraction of that population.
Yeah, that's what bothers me about this. Of course, they'll occasionally mention "and the other people," but the Christians forced to live there. At this moment, Christians are in Gaza. And then it like pats them on the back for remaining witnesses during this hard time. Like, that's where your priorities are now. Like, maybe deal with some of the suffering and the death and things like that. It's really gross.
Yeah.
This is why I like, well, not like, but I think these things are worth bringing up, because this is really a pretty basic thing. There's not much of an argument here, but there's so much Christian attitude reflected in this that, I don't know, they say a lot of the quiet parts out loud, I feel like.
A year ago, when the Ukraine stuff was first picking up, I was invited to be on this Christian's channel to talk with them about the Ukraine stuff, and I was like getting fully prepared. I was like reading up on like the color revolution. I was like getting my geopolitics in order and stuff. And when we finally got to where we wanted to get his take about it was, oh, well, this is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy and that Gog and Magog. And I was just like, oh my God, I wasted so much fucking time, like making sure I was dead. Not that it wasn't a waste of time. I mean, it's always good to be informed about the world, but it's just like, wow, my point of view is just so not even in the same realm of what you're considering. And when most Christians are thinking about the Gaza situation right now, I think you're right, Zod. I think it's like people are just capitalizing on the Christian angle of it and not like the broader whole, because it's complicated and it's there's a lot of info that you have to read books and newspapers about. I don't know.
The information is a lot more complicated than a few people came to Christ.
Yeah.
There's a lot of subtext there and a lot of complex things going on that you need to untangle.
Yeah.
But the core concern like is pretty simple. It should jump out and grab your attention. And if you can't cross the bar of like being mostly concerned about the pain and suffering people going through and trying to alleviate that, and instead you turn it into this weird, how did Jesus appear in a dream and give people a message and celebrate that, I think you don't even really belong in the conversation.
Yeah.
Or you need to get some things straight before you join.
Yeah, really.
Spontaneous dream appearance of Jesus to hundreds of Muslims, however, is a significant sign of hope, a reminder that even in times of great trial, God does not abandon his children. It should also be a warning to all those who perpetrate this barbaric violence that spares not even the children. Brothers and sisters, as we contemplate these events, let us remember to pray. Pray for
It makes you wonder what side they're on there. I mean, they're obviously trying to be as neutral as possible about the violence happening there. But I still get the idea that it's strangely not as pro-Israel as I thought this video would be, but still kind of like being very neutral, like, oh, anybody who's causing the violence. Okay, well, who's causing the violence? Like we haven't answered that question within this video, you know?
Yeah, there's not as much pro-Israel stuff as you'd expect in here, but I think that kind of trips over the narrative a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's weird because they want to focus on whatever they have all this hierarchy of like bad guys and good guys and which kind of suffering they want to focus on. And I think, like, for example, I don't know if you know this, Dan, but there is a little bit of anti-Semitism in Christianity.
What?
But as soon as it, yeah,
No.
I know, right?
No.
As soon as Israel comes up, then suddenly they're all pro-Israel, pro-Jews, because they're pitted against the surrounding Islamic world.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they start throwing accusations of anti-Semitism, such as like when noted friend of Jews Marjorie Taylor Greene did the same.
Oh, right.
That I'm stealing that line from Internet Today. I think it's a little YouTube thing I watch.
Yeah.
But then you throw Christians into the mix and have them be in Gaza, and suddenly the focus has to go off Israel a little bit. And because they're entangled in the little Gaza mess, and there are some Muslims
in the
now.
little Gaza mess. I'm sorry, I should.
No, but
I know you're speaking on the fly, but that's a very funny phrase.
I put that in a crass way, but there are Christians in the middle of that war zone, in the middle of the devastation, and then now Muslims have gone from being the antagonists against Israel to being potential converts, and you can't really make the pro-Israel message as clear as you'd like to. But it makes all this empathy feel a little wonky to me, because there is a big cause to this destruction that doesn't need to be there. And I know Hamas is a big problem and everything, but this is pretty much a one-sided conflict as far as who can commit devastation and who is.
Yeah. But it's not convenient to mention that. And of course, people will say, oh, well, this was a provoked thing. And, it's, I don't know. They try to make it more, we were talking about it. It's complicated. It is complicated, but it's not as complicated as some people make it out to be. Some people say they make it out to be complicated because they want to bury the lead, which is what's happening right now is fucking overkill. If anything, to put it mildly, but like, it's not convenient to the Christian narrative to put the state of Israel as anything below, biblically ordained. So, at best, their commentary has to say neutral to the state's actions. And I think this is what you get. If you can't even comment on it, you're just, well, what about the Christians? No, who gives a shit about the Muslims dying, or the fact that, as one commenter pointed out, 1 in 2 people in Gaza are children. And by that, I think they mean like 18 and under, right? I think is the stat there. Like that's the average median age is like 18 in Gaza, I think. So yeah, it is primarily younger people who have grown up in this conflict zone, and have had no way to leave it, are suddenly dying, because people think it's cool to just, I don't know, lay rockets at civilian areas because allegedly Hamas is there, and it's fucked up and it's bad, but I don't know. You can't point that out. And there's no churches that are pointing that out, at least none that I've seen.
Yeah. And it's when you think about it, it's amazing that like Hamas is using human shields becomes a good excuse for shoot the hostages. Like,
yeah.
But one thing that really bugs me, and we're getting down a rabbit trail here, but like when you talk about how it was provoked, Hamas jumped over and did that. But I think one of the Israeli family members of one of the people taken hostages said, you can't put people in a box and expect stuff like this not to happen. And this is even a lot of people over there in Israel are very upset about this. Like, they're upset that, number one, they are upset on behalf of the Palestinians, but then also they know these kinds of outbursts are going to happen when you treat people a certain way, and the way they're being treated is horrendous. So if at most you want to back it up and say, well, yeah, Israel's doing this, but they jumped out of their human cage they've been forced to live in and acted out a little bit, which was totally wrong. But you can't make that the only center of the conversation, and you can't just go back that far when trying to trace back the cause.
No, it's like Iraqi invasions of because of like 9/11 and shit, right? Like, it's not justified. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're going in and what you're doing is for the wrong reasons, it's for the wrong, I don't know. It's I'm glad that we can talk about the real point of view here, because there are some people that are gonna be like, oh no, that's too much. No, fuck it. There's absolutely reasons that we should be pointing out that Christian outlets will not point out, specifically because they're pro-Israeli ties, and that is a part of this problem that I think you and I are tackling here, which is this sort of Christian hegemony over people's mindsets of how to view world events, right? This
Yeah.
videos like this do sway people's public opinion on foreign policy at the end of the day.
And I think it would be gross of us when there is this kind of humanitarian crisis and this kind of suffering. It would be gross for us not to be outraged about it and want to express some heartfelt and well thought out opinions about the actual crisis that's going on. It would be gross for us to bury that because we just want to talk about atheism, just like it's gross of these people to bury it just because they want to talk about salvation and the work of Jesus and stuff. Like, let's not be so single-minded that, we want to avoid offending anybody over politics, and so we're not going to talk about what's happening over there because we just want to make this an atheist thing and talk about they thought they saw 200 visions of Jesus.
Right. Yeah. I mean, granted, I'm not a military scholar. I'm not a political scholar. I'm just a person who admittedly talks predominantly about religious issues, but that is going to play a part in this. And yeah, I think those of us who call ourselves free thinkers or whatever, like those of us who really want to go against the Christian grain here, like also should be addressing this as well. Cause this is definitely part of, this is an end result of this mindset of, oh, you can't be critical of one party's actions because they're the quote good guys. Right. It's just that's just not the narrative I believe in.
Yep. Okay, I got to add something. If you want to watch more, it's Adam Conover. He did a video where he interviewed somebody who I think had actually lived in Palestine or does. It's in the chat. If you want to know more about this and get more of a perspective than we can go into today, and from people who are more knowledgeable, go ahead and follow the link I threw in there. That being said, you want to polish off this movie real quick?
Let's finish this off.
Those who have encountered Christ in their dreams, that they may grow in faith and find peace in the Lord.
Again, great
Pray
priorities.
for the Christians and civilians in Gaza, that they may find safety and relief. And pray for a peaceful resolution of conflicts, that the light of Christ may continue to shine even in the darkest circumstances. Let us know.
Yeah, we're going to cut off there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Christ shining his light is kind of inconsequential in this case.
I agree. And also, I don't just want peace. I want justice. I'll say that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's one of the things in that video I shared. He talked about just because we don't see it doesn't mean that when the conflict settled down, life is all that much better for the people living in Gaza and I think to a lesser extent the West Bank. Like, they're living in a daily nightmare.
Yes.
And life is really rough over there. And all having quote unquote peace does is makes it look prettier for us and lets Israel peacefully keep their neighbors in a prison.
When I was first deconstructing, and really when I was kind of physically in, mentally out within Christianity, right? I was still going to church because all my friends were there and I thought it was still a good place for me to go to. I one day went and realized that the church I was going to was funding a gay conversion therapy camp, that they had sent money over to this place. And when I brought this up and people didn't want to talk about it with me, because I guess they thought I would disagree with it, and it was fucked up. And I realized there's two kinds of Christians, predominantly. And I know that this is a very simplified example, but in my experience, there's two kinds. There's the ones who will actively and openly hold their prejudices, their biases, and their worldview and make other people, come to that worldview. And they're the ones that let that happen. right? The ones who
Mhm.
say, oh, we want to be neutral about this or whatever, right? There's like the super Trumpy Christians and the ones that maybe won't say it out loud, but will vote for him anyway, or won't,
Yeah.
or will let their friends vote. And it's like, I realized that me being part of that church still made me complicit in that. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to become an activist and speak out, is because I don't want to be complicit, even if I'm not the one speaking it. If I'm letting it happen, I imagine that makes me complicit because I didn't speak out when I could have. And unfortunately, that means I can't call myself a Christian in any meaningful sense anymore. One, for the faith reasons, but also in the community sense. But like videos like this, it may seem innocent. It may just be like, oh, we're just helping Christians. We're just talking about, we want to help the ones we care about. No, you are deliberately putting a narrative. You're deliberately putting on glasses that ignores other people when you do this. I mean, you
Yeah.
really are putting a blinders for just your own kind, your own skin to care about, when millions of fucking people are affected by this that aren't Christians, that need just as much help too, if not more help. So yeah, fuck the people that made that video. I don't care. It's not it's not reality. It's a propaganda video. That's it.
Well, and they're telling people to pray, which is not doing anything.
Yeah.
And at best, they're telling people to pray for like some relief for the Christians and the other people.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're praying for like more, that the people who had these visions will come to a deeper understanding of Jesus and all this complete nonsense. And it's just not helpful.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that even when I was a Christian toward the end, I would like have some kind of objection to something like this. And the very strong prevailing attitude is, well, why do you need to like overthink it? Or why do you need to be so down? This is a sweet, kind message about the love of God. Why do you need to break it down and make it complicated? And that's where I felt kind of at the same crossroads, where I had to either sit there and absorb those things and play around, speak up and feel pushback, or just find another better place for me to fit in.
Yeah. 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 I like, and I get it. There's liberal Christians out there and stuff too. I didn't grow up in a liberal tradition of Christianity. I understand that they exist, but they've never, and probably will never, have political sway in this country, at least. And I still will probably disagree with them about a whole bunch of other stuff, even if I agree with them on some things. It's like I can't find common consensus on the same things. You're gonna think that we should be caring about Palestinians because Jesus said so. I'm gonna be saying it because I think they're fucking human beings. So we're still not talking about the same thing here. Like our core values, while similar, are actually very different when you really break them down. But you know.
Well, and one other part of this is, with all the tension that's going on over there, there are a lot of complicated causes, but one of them is making these hardline divisions over your religious affiliation.
Yeah.
So is what we need to do really to throw one more religion into the mix and completely draw your tribal boundaries around that? I don't. There's just a deep-seated message here that is just so fundamentally wrong and so fundamentally destructive, and so not only misses the mark, but deliberately steers away from treating people well based on a just general sense of humanity.
Yeah.
And it's more than just nitpicking, whether you're a non-believer or if you're like if you happen to be here and you're a Christian and you're one of those ones that's bothered by this stuff. It's okay to say something about it, even if something has a sentimental feel, or you feel like you're just taking a dump on something that's a nice message and asking too many questions. And that stuff is good because you actually get to the bottom of things, because you can bury a lot of ignorance of important issues or a lot of destructive stuff behind a message that sounds nice and people want you to just nod and say amen to.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's really been driving me crazy. And I'm glad we talked about this video. I think this video is an epitome of a broader cultural issue with Gaza and Israel as a whole, in the Christian community, which is it turns out they do not have the consensus that people really think they have, which has been a pro-Israeli stance. I think people have been really asking questions about this conflict in
Yeah.
particular, and I have seen folks in Christian media bring this up more so than I initially expected. But it's still the dominant narrative is that what's happening is okay because it is ordained by God and this is the way it is, and not that anything could ever be different, which it definitely can be. So,
And also because they're terrorists, which
oh yeah, and then there's that. But you know,
well, I think this as a little microcosm brings to light a much bigger problem, which is those other people in the Middle East. They're living in a certain amount of poverty in a lot of cases and in a certain disadvantage because of a lot of big systemic systems that we as kind of a global empire have put in place and other Western powers. And they don't lash out because they hate freedom or, they hate to live. In some cases, there are the Muslim fundamentalists who are extremely dangerous and want to put they have a very chilling vision for the world.
yeah,
But it is more than that. And until you can get to that and realize there are just a lot of really poor people who are trapped in horrible situations and they lash out other than for the reasons that they, want to align with terrorists and hate democracy, you're not going to understand them and you're not going to solve the problem. And you're just going to be viewing people and treating them like garbage.
I'm here on the internet talking to people because I have a fucking college education and I grew up in fucking the United States. I'm not like I am just as much a product of my environment as anybody else. Muslim fundamentalists living in Gaza, yeah, their ideas are despicable. They don't deserve to die from rocket fire from the military as civilians because, even if I think their beliefs are despicable, because I do think their beliefs are just as much of a product of their environment as they are. And the thing about beliefs is people can change. I mean, like, not that I'm saying I'm worried about those people changing their minds. I'm just saying there's a people want to make this good guy, bad guy distinction in this. They really want to make this as well. These people had it coming. And it's just like, it's just so backwards. It's really cliche to say, but that is like a strong narrative that has existed in Christianity for much longer than this conflict, by the way, but like it has come up again. And it's one of those things where the religion is putting the narrative in place here for this conflict, for sure. Hopefully I'm making sense. I don't know. I'm saying a lot.
Yeah, you are for sure. You are. So nice, fun, upbeat Zidanza episode.
Oh, it's so good. Isn't this this is the fun time show?
Yes.
For sure. I love it.
So Dan, what is our sign out for tonight? Because I think this is a good time to.
Oh, it's a good time to wrap things up, you think?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I think we both ranted. We've both gotten all of our stuff out of our system.
We did a lot of ranting. Let's find some fun stuff for next week.
You alluded to your college education, so you made sure everyone knows you
That does sound shitty of me. I mean, like, I would be a fuck. I don't know if I maybe would still be a Christian if I didn't go to college. I do wonder. But that's my own journey. I realize that's not everybody's journey, but it was a big part for me. Anyway,
the first part of the show was a little loose. We didn't really. I meant to have a question for everybody, and I didn't come up with one for next time to open up our show, which will hopefully open up a little quicker. Dan, do you have a question that you'd like, a question or some kind of feedback you like people to share that you want to talk about? Kind of like what's your least favorite Christian movie?
Oh, a prompt for this week, you mean? Do I have a prompt for
what's our audience's homework for the beginning of next episode?
I want people to talk about the conspiracy theory that they think is actually low-key true. Like,
okay,
that's what I want. Because I think that would make a good discussion. What do you think?
Sounds good. So what conspiracy theory do you at least come closest to thinking there might be some truth to?
What conspiracy theory is low-key true? That's my wording.
Right.
But so we should I'll have to plan some content for next week and see how we can bring this baby up a notch. So maybe we're not talking about geopolitical events that make us starking mad, raving mad. Is starking a word? I
Stark
just made
raving.
it up. Stark raving. That's what I meant.
That's good too. We can laugh a little. We can make fun a little. We can get mad a little. We run the gamut of emotions here on Zadanza.
Mm-hmm. This is a very emotionally complex show. We're like Westworld, but better.
I just did our sign out without realizing it. Our sign off.
Oh, that is a good.
We run the gamut of emotions at Zadanza.
Zadanza, run the gamut of emotions with us.
All right. So tell us what conspiracy theory, to stick to Dan's wording, you think is most low key true.
Yes.
And unless there's anything else.
Is that your
thank
first
you to our
time ever saying low key? Ever?
No.
Oh, okay. That's the first time I've heard it.
Well, there's a lot of parts of me you haven't seen yet. So.
I guess so. I'm interrupting Zod here. Zod, close us out here. You beautiful bastard.
Thank you to our patrons. We appreciate all your support. You have been awesome. I would like to talk about you more, but we keep running long on the show, so we'll maybe thank you more. Maybe have a little special event for you sometime here in the next few weeks, which I'd like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can kind of hang out with us live or something like that. A patron exclusive thing where you can get on screen with us and something. We'll come up with something for you because we really appreciate you guys.
Yes.
And then also like and subscribe, share this with all your friends. I don't know if you know this. We've been getting around 1,000 views. If each of you shared it with one friend who watched the whole thing, we'd have 2,000. If all of you did that the next week, we'd have 4,000.
Mm-hmm. Text your friends. God's not dead. Watch Zadanza's stream here, and then put a link to us, and then that'll be good. That'll be a good way to plug our show.
In all seriousness, don't be those annoying people, but still, I appreciate that you hear
No, I'm directly contradicting Zod. Be that annoying person. Please text the words "God's not dead." Follow this link here to find out more, and then it's just a part of our show.
Sounds good. Unless you have anything else, Dan. Good night, everybody.
Run the gamut of emotions. Zadanza.
Here on Zadanza, we run the gamut of emotions.
Run the gamut. We running. See you guys later. Take care.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. La 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 la, la casa del merengue. La 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 la, y la casa de la bachata. Música, 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 te traigo música, 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 música.